I'm so happy that we're here to help all of you, and it's so nice to have you all here, and hope you had a wonderful blah, blah, blah. And she said, we have made arrangements for you to go directly to San Francisco. You don't have any stopovers any place. We have boarding passes for first-class passage for all of your group. And I, as calmly as she said that, I said back to her, but we're not all going to San Francisco. These people are going to Florida. These people are going to New England. These people are going to St. Louis. And so we spent another hour and a half finding flights for everyone. And for our core group coming back to Portland, we finally got on what I would call a milk plane. It stopped at every spot across the country. And it was unbelievable. So TWA, I don't have too much to say. I did 5 needlework tours in all with this company, 5 needlework tours, and they were all in different parts of Europe. The first one, as I said, to Germany and Switzerland. We did one to Italy, France, and Belgium. We did one to Spain and Portugal. We did one to Scandinavia. We did one to England. And they're all stuff up here about them. And there's money. If you want a dollar bill or change from someplace, take it. It accumulates. It was. I won't even go into them. I told Chet that if he's stuck for shows 5 years from now, I'll do one and talk about the trips, because the experiences on the trips were just wonderful. And we visited all the places that I found out about, and places that Siegfried knew about, and wonderful, wonderful things, such as when we were in Florence, Italy, different trip, we had made arrangements to go to a restoration studio where they now, I don't know any of you would be interested in this, but a studio where they restore old tapestries and weavings and needlework. And it was sort of bland. It was sort of bland. It was not very interesting. And Florence, of course, in itself is a treasure to be in, and just walking around was great. But we had, our guide was a wonderful young woman who was married to an Italian, and her Italian was impeccable. And she said, we can't settle. I will not settle for this. This is not good. We've got to find something better to go see this afternoon. So she talked to some people and made a phone call or two, and we went to a weaving studio. Florence and Lyon, France, in the early ages, were the silk weaving centers of Europe. And this studio that we went to was a factory, a workroom of looms spinning silk for bedclothes, and they showed us the things, the draperies for palaces, and it was incredibly beautiful. And in among them was a little fenced-off loom that had been designed by Leonardo da Vinci. And then further, as we went back further into the building, the owner met us. Just came up out of nowhere, and he took us through and showed us, and somebody was still weaving. Beautiful. And they made ribbons, wide ribbons that they use in large buildings, and it was incredible. And he took us into his private museum of artifacts having to do with history. I mean, they were just everything. Private. People from the street didn't get to go in, and that happened times and time again. When we were in France on one of those trips, I had written ahead, and the local guide, knew that we were coming and who we were, a group of needlework women and men. And she had made arrangements in one small village. She talked to the village elders about this tour is coming, and they set up an exhibit for us in their town hall on tables of the embroidery that was done there in the earlier centuries, and posters, and a table. And here I was having to give a toast again. Table set with wine and cookies and everything, and toasting us. Pictures being taken for the local. I mean, good God, it was incredible. And meeting the mayor, and all of this stuff. Absolutely wonderful. So I'm really talking too much. One of them Oh, one of the other things in that area, we were in the Loire Valley and visiting castles, and of course, the minute we got there, they knew that we were embroidery people, and they let us go behind the red cords that marked passages. We could go up and touch things because we were interested in the embroidery, which was incredible. And then our guide in one of the castles said, "Come with me," and he takes my group, and we're going up back stairs and everything to an attic room where there are chests and drawers. And she said, "Look through these and see if you can find any needlework." And here we were rummaging through years and ages and acres of beautiful, beautiful handwork. Just very thrilling. Anyway, it was wonderful. The tour guides were always great. Our bus drivers were always wonderful. Our bus driver on that first trip to Germany was a young German, cocky, Kurt, and a very cocky young man, but wonderful. And when we were on the first leg of our trip, always on huge buses, he was playing music on the radio, which of course came back, and it was pop. I can't stand it. And so the first rest stop we did, gift shop of course, we went in to get refreshments or whatever, and I found tapes, and I found a tape of old German folk songs. And so I bought it, because I was raised on them, you know. And so I took it, when we got back on the bus, I said, "Kurt, would you put this on your tape deck instead of what you're playing?" And he said, "Do I have to?" So, anyway, another of the places that we visited twice, 2 different trips, was Oberammergau, where they do the Passion Play. And the first trip was in 1983, that first tour. And we were able to go backstage and into the property rooms and into the costumes and touch and feel and look and see the workmanship done. Beautiful costumes. In 1990, we went back. I did a trip back to Magic, Germany, and it was another stop there. We were there for the Passion Play, and we spent the day. And when you go, you always come the day before and stay 2 nights. And you're there because the play goes on all day, and it's wonderful music and very beautiful. And then you have dinner and stay overnight and leave the next morning. And we were staying at one of the inns, and of course all the inhabitants of the town are in the play. You know, they're all part of the cast, so they're got beards and all that. The bender, not the one. And the innkeeper where we were staying said, "Now after dinner tonight, go take your coffee or your drink and go sit out on the deck outside, big deck overlooking. Oberammergau is in a little hollow with mountains all around it, like this. King Ludwig, you know, you've heard of him that built the castle. It was his birthday, it turned out. King Ludwig, who's been dead for 500 years, 200, well, a long time. But they were celebrating his birthday. And we were out on this deck sitting and visiting and thinking, now what's going to happen? And we learned that all day long musicians were climbing up into the hills. And as dusk hit, they gave us a concert. And we had this ethereal music coming down from the mountaintops. It was absolutely breathtaking. So, you know, it was worth it all. all the turmoil and other things that happened. I have talked much too long. I have to finish.
Maybe we can open it to questions and
yes,
open the refreshments
okay.
at the same time.
I have one refreshments, and yeah, we have refreshments. We have coffee and we have iced tea, and something to eat. And my last thing I would tell you was long after I'd stopped doing the touring, my husband and I went to Japan to visit my son. He and his wife lived there. He was in the Navy, and we stayed for a long time and did a lot of sightseeing, just to prove that everything I learned didn't mean a thing. 2 days before we were flying home, David and Loris took us to Tokyo to sightsee. And we were having lunch with I had a lot of Japanese students in Portland at that time who would go back and forth. And one of my Japanese students had invited Bill and I to lunch. And we met her and we had this beautiful lunch in Tokyo. And then another student had invited me out to a school on the outskirts of Tokyo. And we were told to take the subway, which we did, and came up and then got a taxi to the school, which wasn't that far. And we did. And we got out of the car, the taxi, and it wasn't until I was getting ready to get back into the taxi that I realized I didn't have my purse. It was in the taxi. I had got out and left it in the taxi with our airline tickets, our passports, our traveler's checks, everything. And they said,
In Italy.
you know, what have I learned in all this work that I've been doing? And the next day we spent, and of course everybody said, oh, this is Japan, you'll get back, it will come back. I had ID in it, and of course our tickets and everything. Of course it didn't, not of course, it didn't. So the next day, our last day in Tokyo, we spent at the Japanese embassy. We got everything and had to rebuy tickets and that sort of thing, but we got passports and everything. But so you're never too old to forget something. You're never
Did
too
you
young
ever
to
hear the
forget
story
something.
of the rings around Saturn?
No.
They're lost.
I like to talk. You are full of such interesting things.
Oh,
Thank you.
Thank you. Please have something to drink and a sweet. Please, everybody. And come up. Yeah, it was pretty traumatic at the time. Isn't that gorgeous? Oh, fantastic. And it's all hand painted. Yes. That one is like and yeah, black ink. And these are what the mountains look like. We always gorgeous.
Oh my God.
And of course something written there that I don't know what it is.
Wow.
I was there.
As large as 9.
No.
The 28 was the largest. Okay.